Hi there, it's Moira MacDonald. First of all, apologies for poor lighting quality. I'm very conscious of the fact the weather's absolutely appalling today, just for a change, although it's very cyclical. One minute it's fairly bright and the next minute it's snowing. It's snowing at the moment, but I don't think it will last for any length, any luck. What was I going to say? Right, so the old stress, depression, anxiety. I have been reading through these booklets that my husband got at the stress control class, and I'm planning on actually going to the stress control class with him this afternoon. Although, to be honest, if I'm being entirely honest here, I'm really only going to give me really good grounds for complaining. As I read through this stuff, I've been reading it piecemeal because, see, to be honest, I think it's part and parcel of just stress. I don't get a lot of free time, and I don't, a lot of folks say like, oh, well, you've got your wee bit of crafting. I get no time to craft, and there honestly isn't a lot of time where I don't have something else that I've got to be doing in this house. I don't work in the sense of physical going out and earning a living, but between my husband, my elder brother that we live with, and my adult son, there is never a minute, and if there is a minute, it's taken up by dogs, which is all obviously part and parcel of the stress that I feel I'm under, because there isn't a lot of relaxation time. There isn't a lot of this downtime where folks say like, well, you can shut yourself away in your wee room and do your crafting. No, I can't. I shut myself away in and somebody walks in and says, where's the such and such, or what, when is such and such happening, and when are you getting the dinner on? And there honestly is just never a minute. But anyway, that's aside. That's just that is distracting from the issue, and that's the whole crux of having read through these stress control booklets. I've sat and I've thought, that's no me. That's no me, because nearly everything that they're saying is an issue and what's causing stress, I'm reading it and I'm thinking, that's poppycock. Like it might cause somebody stress, but it's not something that would necessarily stress me out, because there's scenarios that really relate to things that they're stupid. Like I went to work today and I knew I had a report to get in and I haven't done it, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hassle and it's going to be really embarrassing and people are going to speak about me. There might be a modicum of stress related with situations like that, but that's not the kind of stress or depression or anxiety that relates to me. I'm talking about situations which really seem life or death, and they're just not covered in this book. Okay, this doesn't necessarily relate to me just now, but supposing it's the case that you've got a relative with you that's seriously ill, and you're contending with that, there's absolutely nothing in these books that can actually offer any comfort whatsoever to you, because the basic instruction in the book is, separate yourself from this, both mentally and physically, develop relaxation techniques. Number one, I don't have time for relaxation techniques. If I do, I fall asleep, because I'm honestly, 9 times out of 10, I'm so overwrought, I could slip into a coma, no bother. So, separate yourself and develop your relaxation techniques. Be aware of what your body's doing. Be aware of the quickening heartbeat and the faster breathing. Right, okay, I can see that relating to the issue my husband has, because he's already got respiratory issues. When he's getting stressed, it's causing him a major issue because he's becoming really breathless and he can't cope with that. But then that's an issue that's causing me, because I can't control his life. But if something happens in his life, it's a major impact in mine. So how am I possibly to separate from that feeling? The other thing they say in the book is, imagine how things are going to be in 5 years. Well, imagine you've got somebody that's terminally ill living with you. And you've got to think about, well, you know, should I get stressed about this? Well, in 5 years' time, they're not going to be here, so I don't need to worry anymore. How stupid can you get? I'd really love to get my hands on the guy that wrote these, because it's supposedly a doctor, a psychologist of some description, and I'm sorry, but I can't help but think you've never experienced life. You have no concept whatsoever of how to deal with this, or how to have any empathy for anybody that's going through this. When over Christmas and New Year, or indeed throughout December, I genuinely didn't think, I didn't feel like doing any crafting. I had no interest whatsoever. December is a bad month for me because it's the month when my first husband died, and you know, as everybody's celebrating Christmas, I get to remember going out the door on Christmas Day to an ambulance, taking him to hospital where he was going to die 2 days later. So, you know, albeit the better part of 30 years have went by, that's still a very fresh memory for me. So that tends to overshadow a lot of December. But that aside, I quite like cooking. I'm a born fatty. I had a real weight problem, mainly because I enjoy cooking and I enjoy food. So anyway, I lost all the weight, again because I was worried about health-wise, something had happened. But anyway, I decided that I couldn't watch any more craft. I'd had it up to the eyeballs. It was stressing me beyond belief, just watching a craft video. So I thought, I'll start watching cookery videos, and I really like Nigella Lawson, right? And I'd always been fairly sympathetic to Nigella Lawson because I was very conscious of the fact that she was widowed young and left with 2 young kids. So, you know, in some respects she had something in common with me. And apart from watching the cookery videos, I came across a video which was just an interview with her, talking about her life. And she was talking about the husband who had cancer and had passed away, and I'm sitting and I thought, well, I can relate to this. And her reactions in relation to my reactions were entirely different. I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously she must have been devastated, but it didn't seem to have this incredibly profound effect on her that it had had on me. And again, the one useful thing from having read through these stress control booklets was one of the opening gambits in the first booklet was that your reactions to a lot of things that happen in your life and the things that cause you stress and depression and anxiety are based in childhood. And if you had a traumatic childhood, you're almost certainly going to have a traumatic life, you know, because your reactions to things are going to be entirely different. And I thought, well, that's where it's happened, because I mean, I had 2 parents. 2 parents lived together. Unfortunately, I had 2 parents that fought like cat and dog. My dad wasn't the sort of man that should have married a woman who had been widowed and was left with 4 kids. So my mother was already fairly tense from what happened in her life. So she married a man who just was not the right man to bring up children that were not his. He just wasn't emotionally mature enough, whereas she was the opposite. Not overly mature, but very conscious of every threat to life and limb, you know, because she'd already been through this, being left, having lost her house, you know, having to cope with that, having to bring up kids. And I looked at mine in relation to Nigella Lawson, and I thought, well, you've been left, but you've been left completely prepared for. So you didn't have the stress of, in my case, I literally had nowhere to stay. We had been, when it was discovered that my first husband was terminally ill, his parents had insisted we come down and live with them. So we did, but we were miles away from my mother. And when he died, my mother-in-law turned on me that very night. She was an alcoholic, and obviously this really tipped her over the edge. So she physically assaulted me, and I thought, I cannot live in this house even until the funeral. So my mother came down, we were in Dumfries, whereas my family came from Glasgow. My mother came down with my two brothers, and we stayed in the hotel until the funeral. And at the funeral I sat in the front row of the church, and they sat, the in-laws sat in the row behind me, and my mother came down to comfort me, and my father-in-law asked her to remove herself from that row in the church, as it was disrespectful, since she was taking the place that they should have been in, but they did not want to sit with me. So I was, I mean, I was devastated for a start with having the, you know, the build up to him dying, because it was a fairly short-lived issue, because the cancer was discovered so late. So I was in shock from that. And there was then the trauma of the night he died, when the mother-in-law assaulted me. I had to leave their house, obviously, because that's where I was, and that's, you know, the majority of my furniture had already gone into storage to allow us to move into their home. So I had furniture in storage. I had no income, I had no job, and I had nowhere to stay. So I had to go back up the road with my mum, and effectively my mother, believe it or not, actually said, "You take my bed, I've got a wee camp bed that I can put down, and I'll sleep in that, and that would be easier, because if I take the bed and you sleep in the camp bed, you'll need to get up earlier in the morning than I need to." So my mother got out of bed for me, and I lived in that circumstance for about 6 months, because I couldn't catch a grip of my life at that point at all, and I had absolutely nothing. And I look at, you know, in relation to obviously Nigella Lawson, she maybe didn't struggle quite as much as I did, but then she didn't have the trauma of poverty, of effectively being destitute, because I had nowhere to live and I had no income, and I had, you know, I was homeless. So it, I mean, prior obviously to this, I wasn't a bad person. I was always quite thoughtful of others, but this really let me see how crap life could become, and as a consequence of that, it very much made me the woman I am. Unfortunately, it's made me the woman I am where I'm like that more often than not, but I ultimately went into working in homelessness, because I was very conscious of, when I was looking for a house from the council here, rented accommodation, that when they were asking you, you know, what sort of property it was you were looking for and what sort of areas, I didn't have a clue. So by the time I did ultimately manage to get a house, I was working within homelessness, and I was just oh so aware of the trials and tribulations that people were going through. You know, I was dealing with people who were made homeless as a result of fires, floods, you name it, as a result of financial difficulties that maybe put them in a position where they lost their home, they couldn't afford to keep it. I was dealing with people, you know, who had major debt problems, dealing with people who were maybe made homeless as a result of a relationship breakdown. And I can honestly say that I understood. I genuinely understood what people were going through, and that is what makes what I go through on a day-to-day basis so difficult, because I'm very conscious of the fact that people just don't, doctors in particular, they just don't hear. They sit there and say they're listening, but they don't hear what you're saying, and that's why this level of support and help that you're offered can be so poor. And it's so frustrating, so frustrating. But there you go, that's the way it is. So anyway, I'm going to go to this meeting this afternoon, but only in as far as it is my intention. I've got to go next week because my husband's not going to be there, so I've got to go and pick up. He wants me to get the handouts that go with the course, so I'll go next week and get the handouts as well. But thereafter, I do fully intend going back to the doctor, because I don't think this was the appropriate step for me at all, and I plan in making that fairly clear. In the olden days, I wouldn't have been capable of vocalising that because I would just collapse in tears before it. But the older you get, the harder you appear to get. So that's what I'm planning for next, well, maybe next week or the week after that. So we'll take it day to day and see what happens. In the meantime, I finished a junk journal, so I'll be doing a video on that. It's a wee step aside. I'll be doing a video on that and we'll see how things go. As a matter of interest, my husband got a call yesterday. His mother has gone back into hospital again because she's had all sorts of heart problems that don't appear to be getting resolved. So she's back in hospital. I visited last night, but they're fairly confident that they kind of know what they're doing again. They're always fairly confident they know what they're doing. So hopefully she's going to spend a couple of days inside and she'll pick up sufficiently to get out in 3 or 4 days. But again, extra tension. They don't cover that in the book. There you go. Anyway, thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you again soon-ish. Well, very soon, because I'm going to do a video on my journal. So I'll see you when I see you, and I'll hopefully do another one of these in a week's time, and we'll see how annoyed I am at that point, or if, you know, anything's picking up in any way. So thanks for your time, and I'll see you all again later. Bye.